days
Whoa,
with,
that's a
uh-huh.
trip.
It was certainly a whirlwind. We didn't spend more than one day at any one of them, so we certainly only got a cursory view, but
This is like asking, like a mother to pick which of one of her children is her favorite, because of course they're all amazing, but which one's your favorite? You have to pick one. I'm not going to give you an out. Let's say you can only go back to
um,
one of them for
you're
the rest
right,
of your
you're
life.
right, you're
Which one
right,
will
you're
it be?
right. I really enjoyed Zion
Oh yeah, yeah.
because there's a lot of water there. I really like the water, and we got to do the Narrows, which is the hike
Yeah.
largely up the creek. I'm sure you know it. I'm
I
sure
still
you've been
I
there. It's
haven't done
very
it
famous.
myself. No, actually, I've never done the Narrows.
Okay.
Of course I've seen lots of photos and video, and I've been to the park, but only ever either as a child or with children of my own, and so the Narrows were never quite, just in case of a flash flood or something.
Yeah,
Always playing it safe.
of course. You do have to be careful about the flash floods in those slot canyons. But if you walk far enough, you get past all the people,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's like this beautiful slot canyon, and you're alone, and it gets a little smaller, and it's really gorgeous, and
Mm-hmm.
enjoyed doing that. Yeah, so just camped out on BLM lands every night and went to the national parks during the day and had a great time.
Ah, super cool.
Hmm.
There is something magic about like that juxtaposition between the sandstone red rock and having water present too. It's just like it takes something that's
Absolutely.
already kind of otherworldly and makes it even more so. It's just wild.
Yeah, and they're so toweringly tall.
Yeah.
On either side of you, you look up, it's almost dizzying. So,
Hmm. Hmm.
yeah, I'm a fan. Do you do a lot of hiking?
Yeah. Yeah, especially right now where my wife and I have so small children, it can't be more
Oh,
than a few hours
great.
here and there, but our kids are really into it too, and so we usually
Yeah.
make it out to some of those desert parks at least once every summer, and we're gonna go dig some dinosaur bones here in a couple weeks actually. So
Oh, exciting.
we definitely we do what we can to take advantage of the what we've got out here for sure. A lot of public land, a lot of stuff to walk around on.
That's great. I think that's really important. I always tried to do that growing up as well. Went to a lot of parks, spent a lot of time on the beach because I'm from Clearwater, Florida. And down here, I'd guess the equivalent of hunting for dinosaur bones is people hunt for megalodon shark teeth.
That's wild.
Um, they're into those. You can dig them up and not really find them on the beach so often, but it's possible.
That's nuts.
A lot of
Here,
construction sites unearth a lot of megalodon teeth.
but here's the other thing about dinosaur bones in Florida, Gemma. There
Mm-hmm.
are dinosaur bones walking around Florida in the bodies of alligators and crocodiles all the time. And
Absolutely.
I've only been to Florida like twice in my life, and still I have nightmares about
You have nightmares about what?
alligators and crocodiles. Those
Oh yeah, yeah.
those
Uh-huh.
monsters, those literal dragon dinosaur creatures that y'all are just like comfortable living with somehow. I don't understand
Yeah.
it. It's
Yeah.
scary, 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 scary for me.
Yeah, they are I've honestly barely ever seen a wild alligator
Mm,
move more than 10 feet. They don't
yeah.
move a lot in the wild. They don't do too much. And they're really only a danger if you're a pet or a small child near the water surface. So
Hmm.
parents be careful.
Yeah,
Um
my sister lived in Florida for a little while, and before she started having kids, she came on back to Utah, and I think that's part of why.
yeah,
I think she
yeah,
was already
definitely.
having worries.
Definitely. No, I grew up with the gators and I grew up with a pond down the street that's always had gators in it and it's never been a problem.
See, I grew up with
Um
a pond down the street that had ducks in it, and I was worried about getting attacked by ducks, but like that's just on a whole nother level. And am I being totally ignorant about the alligator versus crocodile thing? Are they both around in Florida, or is it just one or the other?
So great question. The Everglades and the southern area of Florida is actually the only place in the world where crocodiles and alligators coexist.
Hmm.
The basic rule is crocodiles are saltwater, a lot more aggressive and a lot more dangerous. Like I would not mess with a crocodile. Obviously, I wouldn't mess with an alligator either, but I'd be a lot more cautious around a crocodile than I would
Hmm.
around an alligator because alligators are freshwater and they're known to be a lot less aggressive
Hmm.
than crocodiles. But in the Everglades, they have both.
My whole reference for how to tell the difference between an alligator and a crocodile is that
Mm-hmm.
very romantically charged scene in Jumanji when Robin
Oh
Williams says
gosh.
something about like it was actually a alligator. Crocodiles have the fringe or something like that. See, the thing is, I can't even remember what it is that he said because of like you're just caught up in the romantic emotion of the moment. So really,
Uh-huh.
I'm hopeless when it comes to uh, dinosaurs that still roam the earth and distinguishing between them.
That's funny. That's funny. I think the general rule is one has an underbite, one has an overbite, but I don't want to say it because I don't want to be wrong.
And then you'd be like booed off the stage for not being a legit
I
Floridian,
know.
right?
I know.
What
How to
now?
tell a crocodile from an alligator. Um, oh, it's that alligators have U-shaped snouts and crocodiles have V-shaped snouts, like pointy snouts.
And I just can't help thinking to myself, I'd rather never be close enough to either to be able to tell what shape their snout is. I'd be
Fair enough,
fine with
fair
being
enough.
far enough away to not know. And that's
Yeah.
just me. But
I
here's the
understand that. I
I,
understand that.
I didn't only bring you on here to talk local flora and fauna. The main thing I wanted to
Really?
know,
No
Gemma,
way.
is also like, are you worried about the citrus crop in Florida right now? Because I'm hearing all about this green rot stuff. That, from what I'm hearing, the orange crop this year in Florida is on track to be like the lowest it's been since like the Depression. Does that have all
Yeah.
Floridians worried? Is that a huge deal down there?
Actually, I haven't heard too much about the orange crop
Okay. Well,
personally.
I'm kind
But
of joking, of course.
it does have a big impact on our economy, obviously, being
Yeah,
able to
for
grow
sure.
oranges and strawberries is the big one in this area. If it freezes, all the strawberry farmers freak out.
Oh, that's funny.
We
Probably
can't
because
have
of where I
that.
live. I kind of always think of strawberries as coming from the Pacific Northwest. That's just kind of like berry
Hmm.
central in my mind. I hadn't really
Yeah.
thought of berries coming out down there, but that makes sense. You got to have a lot of sunshine to make those berries big and juicy. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Lots of good tropical energy in the system.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, let's see. Here's a really graceful transition. Gemma, hey, you know a
Hey,
lot. You know a lot about crocodiles, alligators, and citrus crops.
I
Um,
love
but
nature.
it's not even your main focus of study. What neuroscience? I did a little bit of sleuthing.
Uh-huh.
Neurology. You studied neurology. What does that mean? First of all, like what did you study? Like to be able to cut brains open like a surgeon, or are you studying the mysteries of consciousness? Or like what does a neurology student learn about? Because brains are a thing that are just so opaque and mysterious to me.
Yeah, absolutely. So, my degree was in neuroscience, it was at an undergraduate level. So, I didn't do anything clinical. I didn't operate on patients or in like a patient directed manner. It was a research based approach. I took a lot of classes similar to what a pre med major would take,
Mm-hmm.
but with more of a focus on psychology and then some neuroscience department specific classes as
Mm.
well. So, some of my colleagues have gone on to work for tech companies, some have gone on to medical school, some have gone on like to work for research labs, all sorts of things. And then some people like me have gone on to play the bagpipes for a
That's
living.
right. Yeah. The
So,
other path. The other option.
the other path, which I really never expected to do. I'd
Yeah.
always been a musician since I was young, but I never expected that it would become a career for me. I always thought it was something casual. It's never really something that people are like, oh, yeah, you should be a musician. Like,
Mm.
it's really, at least in my experience, right? It's definitely, oh, well, you should study something, and then you can always be a musician on the side. You can
Totally.
always
Yeah.
do local cover band. They don't, it's rare to find encouragement to take that leap because it is a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I do understand. But I never really thought music could be a career
Mm-hmm.
until it was. And
And
now I'm just so excited to be here.
well, it's super cool, and it's been very fun. Like,
Mhm.
I mean, this is not me trying to say like, oh, I've been aware of and watching from the very beginning, of course. However, from the time that I first started following you on social media and stuff like that, it's been very fun to see
Mhm.
stuff like the recent tour develop, And
Yeah.
when you put out, you know, like some original tunes and arrangements and stuff like that, it's very, very
Mm-hmm.
cool and a lot of fun to watch. Uh,
Thank you. I'm glad you like it.
the 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 college experience is tied to bagpipes, though. You went to a school that had a bagpiping scholarship, right?
Yes, I attended the College of Worcester, Wooster, in Ohio. It's a liberal arts school about an hour south of Cleveland,
Mm,
and I did get a bagpipe scholarship. However, I studied and got my degree in neuroscience. So
right.
I had to meet those requirements of being in the band, going on band tour for 1 week of my spring break every year, going to every football game early on a Saturday, going to every concert. So,
You paid
it
your
was a
dues.
great, yeah, absolutely. And it's totally valid of them to require things from the scholarship. But as a student, the early football games were tough,
Those football
but
games, Gemma. I found. Where did I see the
uh-huh.
photo? I think it was it on this. Let's see. I think it must have been
There
on your
is
website.
yeah, I know what photo you're
It looked
talking about.
dangerous. You had some big football dudes running like real close all around you. That looks kind of like I'm used. I get nervous in masked bands when we have to all turn around and counter march,
Sure.
but
Yeah.
that's nothing to having a bunch of linebackers in full pads running past me at full speed. Did you ever have any problems with getting your drones knocked off your shoulder or anything like that?
No, I didn't, but that's a tradition that the Worcester band does at every home game. They just have the pipers play the football team down onto the field, and it's
Mm.
like their fight song before they go on, right? But, it's a small enough school. At times, I knew some people on the football team, so you'd be like chatting, turned around chatting with people on the team, whatever, the other piper next to you is talking to someone else. Then it's like, okay, go time,
Mm.
and the mood changes really quickly. So
Mm-hmm.
it's funny, Worcester actually, my senior year of college, they did a little video on that tradition that you can find on YouTube, and I'm speaking in it, and
Oh,
it's
really?
a pretty goofy little video.
I'm gonna look it up and I will include it. I'll include it in the show notes for anybody listening who wants to
Yeah,
see this goofy
sure.
little video. I'll have it in the show notes for sure.
Yeah, it's called Defining Worcester Moment. Um, and it was a fun little project. All my professors were like, "Oh, Gemma, I saw the new." It's like a school promo video,
Yeah.
right? Like promoting the school's music program.
Th-
So
this is maybe like way too
it
much
was funny.
off to the side, but like having gone to that school,
Uh
did
huh.
most people at the school become aware of the PG Wodehouse book series Jeeves and Wooster, or is that just like
No,
the silliest connection ever to make?
and I have never heard of that series ever.
It's very
I'm
funny. I could
sorry.
highly recommend it. Actually,
Okay.
let's see. Hugh Laurie, the guy who plays House, right?
Mhm.
Dr. House.
Mhm. Sure.
He was a young man. He and Stephen Fry, they are the comedic duo that star in the television adaptation of these books, and they're hilarious together. They're so funny.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'll have to check it out.
All kind of set in like the 1920s, like a silly kind of foppish rich guy and his butler. Very funny. Very funny.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now that's, of course, the most important point taken care of in this interview. So we're
Uh
essentially done now, but we'll keep talking a little bit more.
huh.
I know that, of course, you ended up in college with the bagpipes, but that's not where bagpipes started. Uh,
Yes.
you were pretty young when you started piping. Will you tell me about that?
Yeah, so I began piping when I was 11 years old in my middle school band, believe it or not. I
Like pipe
attended,
band specifically, or did the band include bagpipes?
so
Like
how it
concert
worked
band?
for me was I happened to be attending Dunedin Middle School in Dunedin, Florida, because I lived in the area.
Mm.
And my parents were musical, so they said you can choose between band or chorus. And I said, I think I want to do chorus to be defiant. And they said, actually, we were kidding. You're doing band. And that was a fantastic
The illusion of
decision.
choice.
Exactly, exactly. So my dad's a saxophone player and come from a musical family, so
Hmm.
they really wanted me to learn an instrument. I learned the oboe in band class, which I, fun fact, no longer play. But during band class, they pitched Pipe Band Club, like essentially as an after school club you could stay
Oh,
after.
gotcha.
Said, hey, like here's some other learners from your class. They're learning the bagpipes, they're learning the Scottish drums. Isn't that cool? Don't you want to learn? Stay after school, we'll teach you. So it was like, okay, all I have to do is figure out how to get a ride home
Hmm.
and I can learn the bagpipes. So that's what I did. I was a band nerd. Loved it. Started competing with the grade 5 middle school band. Um, and
That's pretty cool for a middle
it was
school club. Like,
great. It
did you
was
have like
fantastic.
adult counselors who knew pipes, or was it like very student driven?
Yeah, so we had a lot of support from the city of Dunedin, which
Ah,
also, as you may know, has a pipe band,
right.
very successful pipe band. So they fund programs in their schools, middle and high school, to teach kids the bagpipes. So
Mm.
they have bagpipes as part of their band, and the whole band wears kilts. So that's how I began. And then I played with Tampa Bay Pipe Band for 4 years when I went off to high school. It was an adult, like not linked to my school band,
Hmm.
and then got the bagpipe scholarship to college. I competed all through middle and high school. That's when I did most of my competition. Was middle and high school, and breaks between the schedule. But
How quickly did you get? You're up grade 2 right now, right? How
yes,
quickly
and
did that
I've
happen, or is that more recent?
yeah. So I've been in grade 2 since I was 17.
Sheesh.
So I definitely focused on education during college, focused on getting my degree, doing well. I got good grades. That was important to me.
It's
Um,
that's a smart way to do college, but also like not the most common way to do college either. So good for you for like
yeah,
putting it to the use it was intended.
yeah. I mean, well, college is expensive these days. You
Yeah,
can't take it for granted.
right.
The whole thing is. A lot of people at my school were aware of this too, and it was like if I skip class, like I'm just costing myself money.
Yeah.
At the end of the
That's a
day, I'm
harsh way
paying
to
a
think of
lot.
it, but it's so true. Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously be kind to yourself. But
Yeah.
um, so where was I?
Let's see. Did
I don't
you?
know.
I asked you a question, but now I can't even remember the question that I asked you.
It's
Um,
okay.
but how quickly you got into grade 2 was the question, and how long you? Yeah,
Oh
that's what
yeah,
it was.
yeah. I hit
And at
competition
17,
really
that's so young.
hard.
Yeah.
Middle and high. I remember getting moved up. I really wanted to be grade 1 by the time I graduated high school. That obviously was a fever dream.
I mean,
But I
pretty darn ambitious,
competed.
but look what happened as a
Yeah, it
result. You still
was.
made it to grade 2. That's amazing.
It was. And then I competed in grade 2 my senior year of high school. Got recruited for Worcester. And then the Worcester band is less of a competition focus, which is
Hmm.
appropriate for a college with a demanding academic schedule and all
Sure,
the
sure.
members are students. And in my case, when I was in the band, none of the other pipers were studying music. Everybody was studying some other subject.
That's interesting.
Um, they were just also on scholarship to play the bagpipes. So, kids, if you want money to play the bagpipes, it does help. It
Yeah.
does help with your college.
Did you already have in mind previous to going to school that you wanted to try Ohio out for any other reason, or was it more like let's see where I could get scholarships? Oh, here's one, and so I guess I'll go there.
Yeah, I applied to a lot of schools, and it definitely came down to I wanted to go out of state, and I wanted the best school that would give me the best scholarship money, and
Yeah,
that ended
sure.
up being Worcester. And a lot of that was because of the bagpipe connection, and they have a
Hmm.
specific thing for that.
Does that neuroscience background make you think? Make you think? It's so funny, the brain
Mm-hmm.
stuff. That's what you do with
Yeah.
your brain. But do you find yourself thinking differently about music, having done some formal study about the brain, psychology, all kinds of stuff like that?
Yeah, I think it definitely does.
Mm.
What I think about a lot these days is have you ever listened to the Huberman Lab
Oh,
podcast?
for sure, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of
I'm a man who uses the internet.
yeah,
I
exactly,
can't help having
exactly.
heard of him. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, my mom loves the Huberman Lab.
Yeah.
And I think now what I try to look at for neuroscience influencing what I do is looking at how to optimize productivity and just noticing patterns, how my brain works. Okay,
Mm.
that's a good pattern, that's a bad pattern. Here's how I use it. Gamifying things, making things fun. Because I do all my own clerical work, like emails, posting, so.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's
So it gets to be a lot sometimes.
That's one of the things I wanted to ask you about because, of course, I'd imagine that probably anybody listening right now is already well aware that you are. Um, let's see. I don't want to sound patronizing if I say rising star because you're pretty well established as a social media presence. But like,
No, that's very kind.
oh, well, yeah. I mean, I think I mean, at least in my mind, when I think like TikTok bagpipes, it's you and Piper Alley are the two people that come to mind. And so yeah, I think anyway, what I'm trying to say is just that like yeah, that can be a lot of stuff to do, and I was curious, like, what is there do you set up like rules or is there a format or formula for you where you like do you have a calendar where you say I need to do this kind of post every other day or do you like stack up I'm gonna capture a bunch of footage before this such and such gig and then space out posts from that like I am foreign to the business side of like being a personality on the internet and so like what all goes into that because I'm assuming it's not all just going to be like it just comes naturally. I just post when I feel like it. There's surely like effort behind it that I don't see. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of learning that goes into it, but also for me, I'm not the most organized as I could be about content creation because I do make most of my living performing. So that's
Mm-hmm.
more of a priority for me at this point. Obviously, content is important and social media is important, and I try to do it. But I unfortunately just don't have the resources right now to make an original video every day and do the performing that I do and, you know, shower every day.
Right,
So
just the basics of living. Yeah,
yeah, for sure.
yeah.
So I definitely don't post as much as I'd like. I'd love to be more organized about it, but what I have more practices that I do in my routine that I already have that cause me to create content that I then go back to, edit, pull a piece out of it that I like, and then I'll post. So very often when I warm up for a gig, um, I'll set aside time to tune. Often you get 10 minutes to tune.
Mm.
So once you're almost done with that, you can set up your phone against a wall, against wherever. I put it really random places and just play. Like just play for 3, 4 minutes in front of your camera. Somebody's probably going to interrupt you. It might be funny. You might have to start again, but I'll just sit there and get a batch of content and then I'll go into it and create clips from it.
Mm.
But yeah, I definitely want to start doing more of that, but I'm also right now trying to record an album.
Right,
So
yeah.
that
Is it
is a priority
actually
as
and
well.
that's one thing so we're recording this like I think any listener who's tuned into the show before probably already knows that I often record then there's kind of a time lapse during which I do the post work and it maybe is a minute before the episode comes
Mhm.
out so maybe we could even time it so that if you've got the album ready or even like a preliminary
Yeah.
version we could cut in maybe we could put a track from the album to open the episode one to close maybe we could even stick one in here
Oh, yeah, I have something. I can definitely pull together a demo thing to put at the beginning or end of this. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to include some
Mhm.
samples of it, and then
Love
once it
it.
comes into
Yes.
existence, I'll make sure for sure that there are links to where the album can be had in the show notes too. So anybody listening, hop down there to go straight to the album. Will the nuisance be on that album? Because I like that tune.
Yes, it will. Good
Awesome.
question. Yeah, some original jigs, some singing, some bagpipes, but a lot of original tunes with singing and bagpipes, which is what I really, it's what I like. It's fun. It's what I like to make.
Some of the social media stuff that you've put out, some of your YouTube videos and stuff like that, are consistently in what looks like a recording studio space. Is that a space that you have constant access to yourself, or is that where you're recording the album, or is that just like a friend's place, or what's up with that?
Yeah, so that is actually a friend's studio. It's also used by North of Argyle as well, the band. It's if you look at some of their videos and some of my videos, you'll realize, oh, that's in the same room, isn't it? But it's a studio space that we have access to a lot of the time. Like I have to let people know I'm coming, but yeah,
that's
it's
super
pretty
cool.
Nice to have.
I really liked, and now I could be stitching together multiple memories in my brain, and so I might be remembering wrong. But I feel like in that space is where you did a video of your, was it a real I feel like it was a jig version of the Parting Glass that I really thought was so cool. Like what a cool idea. Like that's one of those songs. Like of course it makes sense to like end the night with it at a gig, but. And I think you even mentioned this. I don't remember if you said it out loud or if you put it in the description or what. That like it's also fun to end on a fast note, like having fun.
For sure.
And I thought that was a very tastefully done rendition of that tune. Gemma, if you ever do put out more like sheet music or a tune book or anything like that, I for one would be all for snatching up that jig version because I would love to incorporate that into my own gigs for sure. I like that a lot.
Yeah, awesome. I'm glad you like it. I'll send it to you after the conversation.
That's what I was fishing for, really. Can I get it for free?
No,
That's
of
what
course. Yeah, of course. No. You've always been very supportive, and I would love to see people playing my tunes. Whenever somebody sends me an email right now, I've just been sending them my tunes. I'll eventually get it set up so that I have multiple tunes to sell as a package, but that's in the future. It's also funny that you should mention the Parting Glass. That's always just been one of my favorite traditional tunes, I think.
Yeah.
It's so expressive. But also, yeah, you like to end the night on a rockin' one. You have to leave the audience wanting more.
For sure, yeah.
So it was good on this. So actually, on this last tour that I did with Jesse Offgang.
Yeah, with Jesse, yeah.
Yeah, another professional piper.
I actually have an interview with him. Speaking of taking a long time to get edits done, it's in the hopper. It'll come out soon. And so
oh, great. Awesome.
The way things shake out sometimes, yours actually might come out before his, but at some point, both will be out. So
yeah, fantastic. He was fantastic to work with, did a great job of putting these performances together up in the Connecticut and New York area. And we were able to both be pipers and multi-instrumentalists backing each other up. Sometimes, him playing uilleann pipes, I'm backing him up on piano. Sometimes I'm singing and playing the guitar and he's playing the uilleann pipes. And sometimes, he's playing guitar and I'm playing small pipes or things like that. So we got to really have fun with the combinations of different instruments that we both could play because I play guitar, bass, bagpipes, small pipes, piano, and then he plays that plus a million things, flute, uilleanns. Having the uilleanns was really fun to perform with just because they can play rests and they have kind of a different quality to them.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed doing that. But we did a version of the parting glass in the set where I started out a cappella singing the parting glass, the
Oh
first
yeah.
verse through, until good night and joy be to you all. And then I come in, he starts like strumming on the da 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 da
Mm.
for the drones, da 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 da,
Mm.
and then come in with the jig. So that was a really fun one to end on, lots of claps along
Right.
from the
Yeah.
audience. But
That's
yeah,
awesome.
the
I
parting glass is one of my favorites, and I like the jig part
yeah.
as
That
well.
it's
Thank you.
such a
I'm
cool
glad you
idea.
like it too.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah,
I like
I'll
it
send
very
that to
much.
you as well.
And I really enjoyed seeing some of the posts that you guys were both sharing from your tour. It was a lot of fun to kind of see,
Yeah.
like, peek in on, like, oh, where are they going tonight kind of thing, you know? And I do remember one of them where I'm trying to remember now which tune it was, or maybe it was a couple
Mhm.
tunes, something that I recognized. And I was like, oh, that's cool
Mhm.
to see it. You were doing it small pipes and uilleann pipe. But then you put
Mhm.
the small pipes down and walked off to the corner, and there was a grand piano over there, and you just joined in on the piano as he kept going on the
Yeah.
uilleann pipes. That was great, super cool.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks. I'm glad you like that one. That was Cullen Bay, I think,
That's
that you're
right,
talking
Colin Bay.
about.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh-huh, Cullen Bay. Uh we figured out that the first and second parts like layer well over the third and fourth parts.
Ah, yeah.
And then we also tried to do that in our set is like surprise people with the instrument switches. It just keeps things interesting
Oh, for
and
sure, yeah.
yeah, just walk over to the piano and come in. People are like, "Oh, wow."
Now, this is
So,
maybe like super duper silly of me, but like early
mhm.
on, I feel like maybe it was like before the tour started.
Mhm.
There was a video that you guys posted. Well, maybe it was just you that posted it. I can't remember now exactly where I saw it, but it
Mhm.
was both of you on highland pipes, but in different locations. It was like
Mm.
hopping back and forth between you, and I couldn't help like I'm totally open to this being like the silliest thing, and let it be an indictment of my own insular thinking. But I couldn't help thinking to myself, his highland pipes look so like kind of like rough, and we might even say masculine, and your
Mhm.
highland pipes look so, we might even say, like, cute and feminine, like
Mhm.
the instruments themselves seemed almost to match like stereotypical expectations of the genders of the people playing them.
That's funny.
Was Did you feel,
Yeah, I
wait,
hadn't.
like when on tour with somebody, it's like having them for a roommate? Was there any degree of like typical messiness about being with Jesse? Like, basically what I'm saying is, dish the dirt about Jesse Offgang. I want to hear.
Oh man. Oh man. Um. Well, he was a good host, but um, we did some sweeping, but that's okay, and we all had fun.
But also,
Um.
your cool looking pipes is one of the first things on social media that, like, for me, caught my attention. I also am a, maybe to a silly degree, a blinger of my bagpipes. I like to bedazzle my
Mhm.
chords and things like
Oh,
that.
me too.
And
Yes.
because of seeing your pipes, I've got actually a roll of fine metal chain here that I still haven't managed to put on there. But I was
Yes.
like, that's the next thing that I'm missing. I need to weave some chain in there. Has that always been a
Yeah,
thing for
I
you, like,
love
ever since you
that.
were a kid, or was that like after a while you were like, I need to make these fancier?
No, actually, I'm pretty sure. So that's exactly how I did it too. Is I went to Michael's and I bought a roll of chain
Mm-hmm.
and I put it on with zip ties to my pipes. And I first did it, I think in like 2021
Mm-hmm.
before a St. Patrick's Day photo shoot because I was
Oh
like,
yeah.
oh, let me trick out. I wasn't even a St. Patrick's Day photo shoot. It was just like I was going to take some pictures and I wanted to trick out my pipes
Mm-hmm.
to make them look snazzy, have another accessory. I'd seen some photos before where the bagpipes were decorated. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
let's see. Um, and I've kind of kept the chain look for a while because I think it fits those bagpipes pretty well with the nickel embellishments. But
Right. Totally.
as I start to get the other pipes, I really should start decorating those too. So Michael's better watch out.
Here she comes.
That's a craft store, by the way.
Oh yes, yes, I knew that, but that's a good point. They might be regionally different. They
Yeah,
might not be
viewers,
everywhere. So yeah.
people
Um,
listening.
Speaking of other pipes, you were something of a spokesperson for the Carbony company, which
Yeah.
is such an interesting company. I feel like, and this isn't meant as a critique of them in any way.
Mhm.
Like, I've been aware of them for a very long time because they make a very unique
Mhm.
product, and also because, like, I'm into didgeridoos and stuff like that too. So, like, they've got a lot of stuff that I'm like, oh, that seems cool. But they're also not cheap. And so it's like
For sure.
I've
Yeah.
still not met one of their instruments in person. You know, I've only ever seen them online. And so how did that relationship come about? And also, like, you know, I if there's negative stuff, I'm not pressuring you to say anything negative, of course, but like, what's
Yeah.
it like playing carbon fiber bagpipes?
No, yeah, great question. So I really like Carbony, and I connected with Carbony because I too had seen them at games growing up, and I really like Rob, the owner's business model of how he goes to all these different games, connects with people,
Mm-hmm.
lets you try the instrument, really get to know the instrument, and then I really like a community based approach, right? So I'd been aware of Carbony, and my social media took off on Instagram kind of quickly on that particular platform. So he reached out to me and was like, "Hey, would you be interested in a sponsorship?" I took a look into the brand, obviously, and I really like that. I really like a couple of their values. That number one, the carbon is also a more sustainable process in that it doesn't require a finite resource such as blackwood that does require a lot of transportation, a lot of aging, and it has a potential to last. Not that there's anything wrong with African blackwood, right? But
Sure, sure.
there are concerns about cracking, moisture, other things that you just don't have to worry about with the carbon. And for me, in Florida, I was always worried about the heat in my bagpipes. So I'm really happy to have a set that I don't have to baby as much, so to speak.
Yeah,
To
totally.
keep them sounding good. So I started out with the carbon pipes. I actually got them in April of this year.
Oh,
So
so
I
that
guess
hasn't been
I've
that
only
long
had
at
them
all.
for no, it hasn't been that long. It was at the Dunedin Highland Games that Rob brought them to me. And I also like that he's an artisan maker, like runs a small business, made in the USA, has a really unique process to make them as well, a couple patents. And then another thing that I love to do is water sports. So particularly I like kiteboarding, um, anything to do with the wind. I really like wind sports.
That's awesome.
And he's based out of Corvallis, Oregon. And Hood River, Oregon is basically like kiteboarding central USA. And his carbon fiber pipes are made in a factory that used to manufacture hydrofoils, which I think is just which is a piece of kite equipment. And I think it's really cool that I go out and you do sports on this material, and then I come in and then I do music on this material.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Your worlds have collided.
Yeah. So I really felt like it was a good fit. And also I like that he's an artisan maker.
Yeah.
There's lots of big brands, but hooray for the little guy, right?
Yeah, and aside from being like made from an interesting and unique material, I have always liked he has a very like clean kind of finish look to it. You know, the mounts and everything like
Absolutely.
that. It's a
They're beautiful to
lovely look.
play.
Yeah.
The sound is a lot brighter than Blackwood. And I've been able to for now, I have my G1 B flat chanter in there, but I will be getting another chanter for that very soon. That plays in B flat.
Do you find them like on the shoulder? Do they feel noticeably heavier or lighter than Blackwood? This is again just me like only ever seeing photos of these instruments. So like what's it like to touch them basically, right? Are they
for
hefty
sure.
or light or what?
For sure, they're actually very light. Because the durability of the material allows you to make a thinner sidewall.
Oh,
because
gotcha.
you don't have to worry about cracking as much, so you don't need as much thickness in the actual stock itself. So there's two designs. One is a more traditional size, and one is like the light, version apparently. That is just designed to be more streamlined, sleek, and light. Just kind of a smaller size, experimenting with the size of the bores and the stocks to make a lighter functional bagpipe.
Yeah, gotcha.
So mine are surprisingly light compared to my Blackwood and Nickel Highlands.
Mm-hmm. No,
Uh-huh.
it's maybe just a sign of the times or my own one track mind or something that is, as soon as you say like a light version, I can't help imagining like how would you set up a set of bagpipes so that like they come with ads. So like every time you strike in, you have to hear an ad before the music starts or something like that.
Subscription-based
Yeah,
bagpipe.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, please no. May it never come to that.
Oh man, have you seen those like subscription-based motorcycle vests?
No, I
Just the
haven't.
most. It's just the most dystopian thing. Like it's this piece of safety equipment you can buy that you also have to buy a subscription to.
Oh my
So like,
goodness.
what happens if you like your car doesn't run and you get in
Right.
an accident? Like
My subscription runs out and
it's
suddenly it's like, sorry.
so. Oh, it's
Shouldn't have
so
let your subscription
dystopian.
lapse before you got that accident.
No, keep bagpipes free.
Yeah, my
You
goodness.
know,
Now,
bagpipes are not free. Also, they
right,
cost
obviously,
quite a
right,
bit of
yeah,
money
yeah.
and maintenance and headaches,
All the
but
reeds
that's
and
why we
everything.
do
Yeah.
what we do.
The
It's
the
not anything we don't love.
do you feel like the with the carbon fiber materials? I'm just thinking about like
Mhm.
watching those videos. Like you and Jesse were playing shows pretty frequently, one after another. Sometimes outdoor,
Yeah.
sometimes indoor. And traveling, probably changing
Yeah.
elevation and stuff like that. And I couldn't help think to
Mhm.
myself every time I saw you playing together, how long did they have to get into that room beforehand just to get their instruments out
Mm.
and play and play and play to get stuff settled and get into tune? That's a lot of reeds between all those drones and all those chanters to get them all to play nicely
Yeah.
together. So I guess a
Yeah.
two-part question. First of all, what was that like on tour? Did it take a long time, or did you get it down to a science by
Mhm.
the end? And secondly,
Mhm.
does the carbon fiber like stay in the same spot a lot more than more
Mm.
natural materials, or maybe it's not a noticeable difference, or maybe it's more down to the reeds? I don't really know. Just curious what your experience is.
Mhm. Great question. So the tour was 7 shows in 10 days.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
it was a little bit of a rigorous schedule. And we did end up doing our coldest show was the only outdoor show. It was the only
Of
cold day.
course.
It was the only day
Yeah.
we were outdoors. And
Ain't that always
I'm
the
from
way?
Florida. And just
Yeah,
really
you were
cold.
probably just dying, huh?
I was like, I'm so cold. Um,
And you from Florida, it's probably like what, 65 degrees outside or something, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, 65 with wind chill.
Yeah.
No, that particular day was in the 50s,
Oh
like
yeah, so
probably low
legit cold,
50s.
yeah.
Not that that's legit cold either. I'm probably gonna get mud fun of for saying
Right.
that, but it's
Everybody in
okay.
the Dakotas is like, oh, this
They're
Florida
like,
girl,
"Oh,
come
what do you
on.
mean 50s is
Yeah.
cold? Get out of here." I mean, and they would have a point. They really would. I can't act
Yeah.
like they wouldn't. So we ended up doing those shows and bringing all our own equipment to it. So it was a lot of tuning. We had to
Mm-hmm.
get there hour and a half, 2 hours before every show because we had guitars to tune. We had
Right. Yeah.
more than 6 channels of microphones, of inputs to set up into the. There's
Mm-hmm.
so many instruments for 2 people.
Yeah.
But it was worth it because, being a bagpiper and multi instrumentalist is a really cool skill.
Mm.
It's not a common one, and it's great to have somebody else to work with to back you up on stage.
Actually, yeah. Like, how did that even come about? Like, have you and Jesse competed against each other in the past, or like, how did you get to know each other, and why did it come about that this
Yeah,
decision to do a joint tour?
yeah. So it kind of came out of an interesting Instagram DM. So he sent me a message
This is
right before.
a very fun opening to any story. It started with an
Exactly.
interesting Instagram
An
DM.
interesting Instagram DM. So it was before the Jacksonville Highland Games this February. He sent me a message on my Gemma Bagpipes page. He runs an Instagram for his piping too. Said, "Hey, you know, I'm gonna be at this competition. Would you want to do a video together?"
Mm-hmm.
I, living in Florida, I don't live around a lot of young bagpipers my age
Mm-hmm.
that so I was like, yeah, cool, like another bagpiper, like sent me some videos, he can definitely play. Cool, let's do a video at the games. I'm already gonna go to compete, so let's go. So
Mm-hmm.
I go, I compete, we do like some little TikToks afterwards, and find out we know a lot of the same tunes. And he's like, "Hey, I got hired for a show tonight at a Irish pub in downtown St. Augustine, and I don't really have that much of a set planned. Like having another person to play with would make it easier.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to come do the set with me?" I was like, "Okay, maybe." And then I just hung around all day, hanging out with everyone. And I was like, "Okay, looks like I'll do it."
Mm.
So I wanted to do it. I was just like, I was hesitant because I had a 3 hour drive ahead of me, and I knew that I would be getting home at like 1 a.m.
Yeah.
So I do the gig. It goes great. We have a great time with the St. Augustine pipe band. Charleston pipe band was there as well. It was really fun. And after that, he says, "Do you want to do the video?" That's where the Kay and Kyle video came from. That was just a remote collaboration that we did to an original tune of mine called Kay and Kyle,
Wait, that was
which
the Highland Pipe one?
yes, you
That was
mentioned
an
that
original,
before, but
really?
that one, yes, that I
Well,
wrote that
how
one.
cool
Uh huh.
again. Jeez.
I know. I wrote that for a couple that was getting married in another state, and the bride contacted me and said, "Hey, would you be willing to write a custom tune for our wedding?" I was like, "Absolutely."
Just waiting for
So,
someone to ask, right?
yeah, I've been waiting for this my whole life.
Yeah.
So, if anybody needs a custom tune for their wedding, I will write you a beautiful tune, and you can name it whatever you want. So, that's where that tune came from. It was a
Mm.
wedding jig. And then after that, he was like, "Well, I could probably set up some performances up here. Let's talk business, get a tour set up. I can do some booking. Like, what are your dates? And wham bam, you take a leap of faith, and here you go. It
Yeah.
went really well. I was really happy with the turnout.
Yeah, what
Um,
what what like posts and stuff came through that I got to see. It sure looked like it was
mhm.
always a good time, and everything sounded
Yeah,
so great. Looked like y'all were having fun and stuff. Super cool.
it was really fun. It was
What
a really fun tour.
was it the kind of thing that now you're like like I'd be willing to do that again, or like I can't wait to do that again, or like I'm never gonna do that again. Like it was fun, but I'm never doing it
Yeah.
again. Like how'd you
Yeah,
feel
so
after?
we're definitely gonna do it again in my area
Oh, right on.
because part of why we ended up doing it up there is because Jesse lives up there, has connections in the area. I live down here, I know churches that would love to have us play for them,
Mm-hmm.
and venues and cocktail houses, and so we'll see, right?
Alligator
We'll see.
farms,
We'll yeah, alligator farms.
orange
Um
orchards, all that kind of
yeah,
stuff.
uh-huh. Questionable laboratories
Right,
anyway.
totally.
So
I wasn't going to bring up the other Florida crop, but since you did.
yeah, so I did play a gig this year for an astronaut.
What, really?
It was cool. Yeah.
Oh, that's super
Bagpipes are
cool.
crazy, guys. Don't quit.
Get all kinds of cool stuff.
Never quit. I know the learning curve is really hard. I have
Oh,
some students that are struggling with the learning curve,
that
but
that was the other thing I was going to
don't
ask you
quit.
about. You do the gigs, you're working on the album, you've got a social media presence that you maintain,
Mhm.
and you teach. So what does teaching look like for you? Is it all one-on-one Zoom classes? Is it a lot of in-person stuff? Do you have like a web portal where you've got like pre-recorded lessons that people pay to have access to? What does that side of your
Yeah.
business look like?
Yeah, so right now I do in person and Zoom teaching. It's really a combination of both, but
Mm,
right now I have more students in person than I do on Zoom just because there's a demand for private bagpipe instructors in the Florida area. There's not too many people that do it. I have two
mm.
separate students that travel over 2 hours each way to
Wow,
come to
jeez.
lessons just because of how things work out.
Well, hey, and
Because a lot of
I
Go
don't doubt
ahead.
that you're also giving quality lessons. Like you don't have to make this all about lack of availability. I'm sure they're also traveling because you're a very good teacher.
Well, that's sweet. But yeah, I mean, most of them uh, follow my social media or found out about me through my website, just looking for a local bagpipe teacher online.
Hmm.
And yeah, I do lessons, but I am so busy that sometimes I do struggle with like the communication of it.
Oh, sure, yeah.
So
I can imagine that would be
I
hard.
haven't set up a Calendly or anything or
Yeah.
like a remote scheduling just because my schedule can change at the last minute with performances and
It sounds to me like
yeah.
you're headed on the fast track toward needing a personal assistant here in the future. Maybe
Well,
not too distant future.
I would certainly like that.
Yeah.
I would certainly like that. I
The
gotta grow a little more first,
Sure,
but
yeah. This is something that like I realize that like it's a perhaps kind of cringy thing for any old
hmm
guy like me to do, to be like, well, I know about women because I have a daughter, or I have a mom, you know. But I have a bunch of kids, and only one of them is a girl. And of course, as a
hmm
bagpiper, I really like. I'm trying not to push my kids into doing anything, right? But I
hmm
really hope they'll all want to play bagpipes, you know, and I kind of
yeah.
strongly nudge them that direction and expose them to it and stuff like that. And my daughter, she's only very little. She's only just done kindergarten, right? But
hmm
in general, she's just not interested. And like part of that might be that she'll never be interested, and that's totally okay. But I do think representation matters. Like just
Yeah.
having seen it. I mean, like having seen it in a lot of different ways among like friends of mine and stuff like that. Like
hmm
I am the personally, my lived experience is that of sort of the target audience for everything, right? I'm uh
hmm
I'm a mid-30s straight white man in America. So everything's for me, right? And so it really is a perhaps it's sad that it's an eye-opening experience, but it is an eye-opening experience for me to have a daughter. And realize that like it really matters to her when like what she's seeing looks like her, you know, because she's a kid, you know. It would for any kid. Just when I was a kid, everything looked like me, so it was never a thing, right? And she has told me before that she's just not interested in bagpipes. But then when I show her posts from you and Piper Alley, she
hmm
lights up and goes, I want to do
Oh.
that, right? And so it's like,
Oh.
look, like nothing against other pipers,
That's
but
so
you know,
sweet.
well, she's so little, right? And I'm sure that like as any human grows up, they can start to see that kind of like excitement or inspiration in any person, whether that no matter what that person looks like and if it matches the way that person
hmm
themselves looks, right? But she is very much
hmm
identified with what she looks like, and she is. I don't know. I don't. Maybe you know about more about it with your studies of the brain and stuff, right? Like I don't totally understand it. This is just me with my one daughter, right? So a sample size of one, that like what she sees matters in terms of like what she identifies with, and it does make a big difference. And there is kind of a few and far between situation with ladies who play bagpipes still, and maybe that's an old point that's, you know, becoming moot, because and then wouldn't that be a great thing? But I do think it matters, you know. And
Yeah.
now I've monologued for
Representation.
so long
Yeah.
I'm lost. So yeah, you pick up, Gemma. Talk for
No,
a minute
you're
if you will.
fine. You're fine. Representation is definitely important, and I'm so glad to hear that your daughter's inspired by videos of young performers playing the bagpipes. I can definitely say I've met Piper Alley. She's amazing, and that's definitely a big part of why we both do what we do is to inspire other people, young people, people of any age, really, and especially young girls to play the bagpipes
Hmm.
because when you're growing up a piper, it can be hard to find your place in that group, and I think you know, a lot of pipers start at you can start at any age, but many pipers begin young. Many musicians that do it professionally begin music when they're young.
Hmm.
So it's especially important to get younger girls and younger boys and younger people into bagpiping
Hmm.
that I think you can make a great impact. And I think communities investing into music programs or bagpiping programs, I think be a great way to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as I think a lot more women are joining pipe bands. I think there's definitely been a lot of progress there
Yeah.
from the old days when people were grumpy. I haven't run into a lot of that. I haven't run into discrimination in any of my competitions for being a woman, right? I haven't ever had like a piping judge say like, oh, you shouldn't be here, you're a woman, but I know that that's happened in the past. So it's
Well,
obviously because of those women who've broken barriers in the past that I'm able to do this in the first place. So
did
hats
did you
off to them.
did you ever read the Case of the Whistling Bagpipe from the Nancy Drew series?
I actually did,
Do you
yes.
do you
Uh
remember
huh.
that she goes to a bagpipe manufacturing factory and they tell them there that girls don't play the bagpipes? They
Is
put
that in the book?
It's in the book, yeah.
That's funny.
They say that no, the girls put on our special national costumes and learn the dances, but they don't play bagpipes. Though this
Hmm.
is after Nancy Drew herself has proven herself a bagpipe prodigy, so the book kind of disproves that rule within itself anyway, to some degree. But
Yeah, for sure. Nancy Drew.
yeah,
Nancy Drew is a sick bagpiper.
yeah, she
She's a
definitely
great
progressed very
piper.
quickly. Yeah,
Yeah, she definitely progressed very quickly into playing the whole instrument.
yeah, yeah.
The whistling bagpipe. I wish I could make my bagpipe whistle. Wouldn't that be
Yeah,
fun?
I asked Adrian Melvin, who's a reed maker, about like the things that they
Mm-hmm.
describe in that book. Like, hey, is this legit? Like, are these things? And he seemed to think it was, mostly just invention for the story, which is fine, but it was just fun to think about. I guess it's fun to take things too seriously sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
That's fun.
now I'm hoping that you can tell me. You don't have to divulge your middle name if you don't want to, but I'm really hoping you can at least tell me that your middle initial is H. Is that the case?
It is not.
Dag
No.
nabbit. Because
No,
then your
my
initials would be GHB. Great Highland Bagpipes.
oh, it would. My middle name is Elizabeth.
All right.
So my initials are GEB, which backwards is Beg.
Hey, that's fine too.
There you go.
But your first name is kind of unique, and this did come up in a conversation we had earlier, where like my context for people named Gemma is when I was
Hmm.
living in Mexico speaking Spanish, and so I still have it's weird for me to say Gemma, like it feels like I should be saying Gemma. And you
Yeah.
mentioned something at that point, like it wasn't an uncommon name, at least where I was, like I knew
Hmm.
multiple Gemmas, and so.
Hmm.
But didn't you mention that you spoke Spanish? Did you go abroad or something at some point? What was the situation there?
Yeah. Yeah. So I have gone by Hema before,
Mm-hmm.
and it was when I was studying abroad in college in Ecuador. In my
Ecuador.
in my junior year in 2018, I did a semester abroad and then ended up going back for the summer. So 6 months total in
Mm.
2018, I spent living in Ecuador. Um, Speaking Spanish, I went for a ecology and conservation program the first time through study abroad program that any student from any American college could sign up for and come study abroad type thing. They had programs in many countries.
This is just
Um,
so fitting with your interest in like the outdoors and hiking and stuff like that. Like,
yeah,
of
I
of
loved it.
course you did an ecology study abroad. Like, of course you
I loved it.
did.
It was very nice, very educational. I learned a ton, and I ended up loving it so much that I came back that next summer. There was a program through my school that would fund you if you could find an unpaid internship. I was like,
Uh-huh.
okay, let me email my old professor, see if I can find anything in Ecuador, and I'll go back to Ecuador for the summer, look at this scholarship. So I ended up doing that, worked in a Spanish speaking lab, ended up meeting the vice president of Ecuador on my second day of work.
Really?
Yeah, crazy stuff. I had no idea what was going on. I was like, Vice Presidente? Like, who? Like, which one? Um, and overall, ended up making some amazing friends and learning to connect with a whole new language and culture that also came in handy back home, right? I grew up in Florida, which has a lot of Spanish speaking is very relevant here.
Sure,
Like
for sure, yeah.
there's a lot of Spanish speakers. It's very common in the culture. You go to Miami and the language that the gas station clerk speaks to you is Spanish, not English. Like English
Right.
is the
Like
other one. So I
contemporary
think
times as well as historically, like there's a lot of
yeah,
Spanish going on in Florida for sure.
for sure. And it's I think it's more reflective of the globe to have more than one language be useful in a society. So
Hmm.
I think it's great to I think I've just had a great time acquiring that skill.
Yeah.
And now I remember when I couldn't understand the language and now I can, and However, I'm not perfect, right? But I am able to speak and live and work confidently.
You ever hear that? I don't know if you call this an axiom or a saying or what. It goes. I think there are different variations of it, but it goes something like, if you want to speak of love, speak in French. If you want to speak of food, speak in Italian. If you want to speak of money, speak English. And if you want to speak to God, speak Spanish.
Oh, that's
Though I
lovely.
think whoever's saying that, their preference for which language will be privileged will change the order of which language does what.
Sure, yeah, depending on what language they speak,
Yeah,
you
exactly.
know, it all gets shifted around.
But
Yeah, I had
did
a
oh, go ahead.
great time. Many adventures. Go ahead.
Did you take your pipes with you on either trip down to Ecuador?
No, no bagpipes. No bagpipes
Did your
either
interest
time.
in bagpipes combined with learning Spanish spark any kind of
hmm
interest in the Galician gaita? Which
Yeah,
Carbony actually makes some of those too, don't they?
they do, and the owner and manufacturer is originally a gaitero, not
Oh, is he?
a highland
Oh, I
bagpiper.
didn't know that.
He does both, but his primary instrument was the gaita.
Hmm.
Um, so I actually had. I've always been interested in different types of bagpipes, but I've always really only played the highland bagpipes, small pipes, the Scottish variety.
Mm-hmm.
But I actually had an interesting opportunity to play with Carlos Nunez, the Galician piper, when I was younger. He was
Really?
traveling through, and he often likes to hire local musicians to accompany him in shows. And the lead came through my pipe band kind of last minute. We're not super close to Gainesville. The show was in Gainesville, like 2 hours away. So we probably weren't the first group to hear about it and heard about it kind of late. Nobody could do it because it was like, we need you to learn this new jig on this time, and everybody else had jobs, and I was a high school kid.
Mm.
So I was like, okay, cool. Like, I'll do this. I'll do this bagpipe show on a stage. Cool. I didn't really understand.
Mm.
I didn't really get
What
it.
you were
Like, I was
getting
like,
into?
okay,
Yeah.
cool, like awesome.
Carlos, whoever this guy is,
Um,
sure, whatever.
yeah, yeah. I just at that
Maybe I'll
time
teach
I'd
him a thing or
only
two.
no, no, no. I definitely didn't think that. No, but I'd only been a piper for probably like 3 years.
What year was that? Do you remember about?
Would have been like 2012 or 2013.
Because
I
I don't
think.
mean to cut you off. I want to hear the rest of the story. I'm just trying to imagine, because my
No, you're fine.
really my whole context for like finding out about the gaita in my personal life was Carlos Nunez when he did stuff with the chieftains, and so it's like
Ah.
the thing for me as far as like what like that was the spark of what's continued to be a real fascination with the instrument. And so Carlos Nunez is kind of like a huge deal.
Oh, he's
for
a god. Yeah, he's
not just for me.
awesome.
He's a really big deal, and so just
He's
I'm just thinking like,
he's
whoa,
fantastic.
was that around the time that he was doing stuff with the chieftains or what? Right. So I don't remember
Yeah,
exactly.
I don't know when he did stuff with the chieftains.
In fact, I can't remember either.
Not
Like
sure
if he
when,
was
what year.
actually playing with them on that Santiago album or if he just did tours with them. Either way, though, Carlos Nunez, big
Yeah,
deal.
the chieftains amazing as well. I'd love to see them live. I'd kill to see them both. Um, yeah, I had a great time. It was a theater show. Like I was having a great time because there were people there to tell me what to do. And
Sure.
I was just not, I wasn't that nervous.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of probably because I didn't realize how big of a,
Right. It's probably a good
how
thing you
big of a
didn't
thing it
know, right?
was.
If you had known, maybe you would have got nervous. So
I did know who I'd looked it up after. But
yeah.
it was very nice. Recommended some local beaches to him.
Yeah.
So I'm sure he doesn't remember me, but it was a good time, and I got to learn a little bit about the Galician pipes. I've played the carbony Galician pipes before. Yeah. I don't have my own set because I just
Yet.
I would like to get them. Just don't have my own set yet right now.
Hey, are the Carbony guys listening right now? Carbony guys?
No, he's been more than generous, And if anybody wants anything from Carbony, you can use my first name as a code for a discount.
Hey, nice. I'll include that in the show notes too. I'll make sure that that's clear.
Yeah, in case anybody wants some carbon pipes. I think he told me recently that there's about 300 sets in the world of highland carbony pipes.
Gotcha.
Right now that have been made or in circulation. Yeah, so one of a kind. Also, he let me pick the custom colors for like the mounts.
Oh, that's super cool.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
Oh, speaking of custom colors and alternate pipes, didn't you recently? I think I saw you unboxing a set of 3D printed pipes.
Yes.
And again, no pressure to say anything negative about anything that anybody's made, but like, what have those been like? Am I gonna make you feel bad? You haven't played them much?
Still in the box.
Uh-oh.
I haven't got a bag for them yet. I've been meaning to get a bag for them forever.
I think everybody knows you're busy. I'm sure nobody's offended.
They're so cute though. They're like Barbie pipes. Like when the Barbie movie gets released, like I should do a video and But
yeah, can you play that?
They're so cute.
That Barbie girl song on pipes and trying to like.
I'm a Barbie girl in a Barbie world.
Probably could at least come close, right? Probably approximate.
Something, honestly. Well, if you can, we can fudge it. You know how it is.
Yeah, for sure. It can be fudged.
It can be fudged for sure.
Now,
we like it.
Now I'm all distracted thinking of Ryan Gosling. Let's see here.
Ooh.
I wanted to know about. I saw you traveling a while ago, like taking a flight for a gig, like to go play a wedding or something. Are you getting hired like way far away a lot, or is that kind of a rare occasion at present?
So it happens sometimes, and mainly it's gigs through where people find me through social media. They're having an event and they want, they want somebody that they're sure. That one. Yeah, and they want a female piper. They want somebody that they're sure that is going to be good. So I've done a wedding in Estes Park. I've done a wedding in Miami. A couple others, Orlando. A lot of like in the state traveling for weddings, just because out of state is like. I mean, you are going to be able to find somebody closer than me if you're out of state. Right. So you're definitely
But they're closer, but they're not Gemma. So, worth the money, right?
Yeah. So I appreciate the support. I mean, it's really sweet when somebody appreciates it enough. So I take it as a compliment.
Yeah.
For sure. And then I'm starting. Go ahead.
No, go on. Yeah.
I'm starting to try to branch out and do more vocals, more original tunes.
Right.
Kind of get that more organized and grow from there.
And so not just like I remember when you put out that video doing What a Wonderful World, where you combined pipes with vocals, and that was super fun. But you're talking like not just pipes with vocals. Like I know you've also put out some like piano and vocal kind of stuff. So do you think like you're gonna follow up your piping album with like a I don't know jazz rendition like piano vocal album or something like that or?
Yeah, I mean, who's to say? I think really who's to say, but I definitely am not looking to get away. I'm not looking to get away from Celtic. That's not what I mean. I think the pipes are very soulful, and I think there's a lot that can be done with the bagpipes, right? As kind of a pipe band player, we play in this weird pitch that doesn't really work with other people.
Yeah.
So it's almost like you're kind of disconnected from the universal musicality of the bagpipes, where they really are just an instrument. I mean, it is a little bit tricky, but you can get almost anything to work as long as it doesn't have a couple accidentals specifically. Yeah, but but I really, really enjoy exploring putting the bagpipes together with other instruments in new ways. And hopefully you'll hear some of that on the album.
Oh, for sure. Now, Gemma, I've already kept you for a little over an hour. If you need to go, totally fine. I can bring this to a graceful close. If you've got a little more time, I could for sure keep talking. So no pressure
I could do like 15 more minutes.
Okay, I can keep that in mind. Here we go. Then I'm going to take you for all you're worth as long as you're willing. since I've
ahead.
got you. How did you come up with the recurring Thai Talks segment? Was that something that just came naturally from in the moment, or was that premeditated?
Yeah, so the Thai Talks came from me talking to the camera as I get ready before I go into in-person gigs, usually locally.
Mm-hmm.
When I dress as a bagpiper, it comes with a lot of accessories. It comes with the kilt, it comes with the sporran, the gillies, everything. I always try to look nice. I think it's definitely part of the presentation.
Mm-hmm.
I think like a nice white shirt matters. Your socks shouldn't be visibly soiled because believe me, mine have been. I'm not saying that as a put down.
That's why
have been
all my
there.
socks are very dark colored.
Yeah, exactly. That's the workaround. Get gray or black socks. Or just launder your white socks more often.
Also an option. Wash your laundry.
I think mine are dirty right now, so.
Yeah.
But I don't like to drive in my tie. Like, I don't like to wear the tie more than I have to. Like, it's around your neck, it's tight. So I always put on the tie right when I get there. And usually the tie and the vest are the last two things I'll put on when I get to the venue before I go in. So I just wanted to start doing little tie talks where I talk as I tie my tie because I always thought it was kind of funny that like a lot of women don't tie their own ties.
Right.
So it's kind of funny to see me doing this like kind of like bagpipes, is an unusual activity, and then I'm tying my tie, and then I'm talking fast, and then I think it's just all kind of like a zany energy that turned into just a little recurring segment that I do before I go into every gig.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I do an untie talk because I forgot to do a tie talk at the beginning, or a reverse tie talk, depending on what I call it that day.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just ended up being me wanting to share what was going on in my daily life with gigging. Obviously, you want to create a piece of engaging content for people, like outfits like are visually interesting. So, get some motion, get some talking. There you go.
I'm sure it's interesting for any of your followers, but like I find, at least personally, like I really appreciate any time other musicians and especially pipers are willing to put out content that has to do with gigging, because like I feel like all of us are kind of figuring it out by ourselves, and so then like any opportunity to see how other people do it is just like so helpful. Kyle Howie does like vlogs of like behind the scenes on his gigs, and I don't know if maybe the main audience for those is precisely gigging pipers for this reason. I don't know for certain, but the Thai Talks falls into the same kind of category for me personally. Is like just a little peek at what other gigging pipers are doing, and like it could be very tempting, I'm sure, as an online personality to like only present very polished, completed pieces where you're already in your uniform and everything's tuned up and everything like that. But man, any kind of willingness to like show the humanity is just really nice,
Yeah, I'm glad you appreciate it. Yeah. The Thai Talks are always never scripted. Yeah. Usually the first take, because I'm usually rushing to get to the gig on time.
Yeah, of course.
But by on time I mean 30 minutes early.
Because you're a professional. That's right.
Of course, yeah. Pipers know. Pipers all know. And yeah, I like to not be perfect and polished on social media, even though obviously the content that I do produce more in the visual way does better metrically. I still think it's important to not always have. Well, I think it's important to keep yourself looking good, but that you don't have to be perfect, right?
Well, yeah, for sure. I mean, there's some element of like the difference between being like a hero figure in the world, almost an imposter, and then there's also like a relatable figure in the world. Both can be like a public persona, and I think really anybody can have both. And I suspect that maybe even like the most quote unquote successful celebrities kind of balance both. You know, there's like this element of like, wow, what that person does is really amazing, and also I can relate to them in some way, right? And there's probably importance to having both. You also did. I didn't get to see any video of it or anything like that. I just happened to come across a photo of you playing with Celtica Nova, which I remember when their Megawatt video came out, and I thought it was so cool. They do some like really big, epic, heavy rock kind of stuff with pipes. How did that happen?
Yeah, so Celtica Nova is a great band. Chelsea the Piper is definitely a piper that inspired me. And I first met Celtica Nova at the Longs Peak Scottish-Irish Highland Festival, playing bass with North of Argyll when I was a member playing the bass. We were on tour and sharing the stage with Celtica Nova. And in that particular gig, I was playing a little bit of the bagpipes. Actually, on that gig, I was playing bass and the bagpipes because the full-time bagpiper couldn't make that particular gig, so I filled in. And so we had these two bands with female pipers, so obviously, you know, the female pipers got to know each other, and I was like, oh, you know, I love your videos, like, cool, like, love your set. So we all got to know each other. Harold, the leader, took some photos of me. He's a great photographer. And ended up being that they come to Florida in like February for the Mount Dora Highland Games. And they said, hey, we're going to be in the area in Bradenton, which is like 45 minutes away from me, doing a gig. Come and bring your pipes. Do itchy fingers with us. I was like, okay, sick. So I did it at the bar. They're like, do you want to do it at this festival tomorrow with us? I was like, yeah. So I go to the festival. I do the number with them. They had their set, and I came and was featured for the number, and it was great. Played with Duncan and Chelsea, and had a fantastic time. I think there's a video out on YouTube of it.
I'll go try to dig it up then.
Yeah, the sound of 3 bagpipes is fantastic, and I think Celtica has a really fun rock sound.
Yeah. Well, Gemma, you've been really very generous with your time, and I really appreciate it. A lot of fun to talk to you. There'll be links in the show notes for everybody listening to get to cool stuff, your album and other things too. You
know, life is good. The Droning On podcast is great, and bagpipes, it's a beautiful day for some bagpipes.
Hey man, that's a beautiful finish. That's I'll chop it up so that we go out on that because that's lovely.
It's a beautiful day for some bagpipes. Far have I traveled and much have